When the sheriff's deputies hauled away HOA President Denise Marple in her polka dot swim cap, she was still screaming that my pool was community property. The truly absurd part? She was dripping wet, wearing my bathrobe, and her minivan was loaded with stolen patio furniture with my initials seared into the wood. 2 months earlier, I, Evan Lasker, a quiet accountant seeking peaceful laps in my own pool, moved into Cedar Hollow. It was a neighborhood where the HOA newsletter was thicker than a phone book, and Denise Marple was its self-proclaimed queen. She took one look at my newly resurfaced backyard pool and decided it shouldn't belong to just me. Our first encounter was on a perfectly normal Tuesday. I was testing the pool chemicals when a sharp throat clearing announced her arrival. There she was, a woman in her 50s, clad in an HOA uniform of pressed khakis and an embroidered polo, a clipboard seemingly fused to her hand. "Good morning," she said, her tone suggesting the opposite. "I'm Denise Marple, president of the Cedar Hollow Homeowners Association. We need to discuss your pool." I introduced myself, asking what needed discussing since all my paperwork was in order. She tapped her clipboard impatiently. "Mr. Lasker, all pools in Cedar Hollow must be registered for community use. It's in subsection 12.4 of our bylaws." I informed her I'd read the bylaws thoroughly and found no such rule. Private pools were private property. Her smile tightened. "Perhaps you need to read more carefully. I'll have a copy delivered." The next morning at 6 a.m., my doorbell rang 15 times in rapid succession. It was Denise, holding a stack of papers thick enough to stop a door. "The updated bylaws," she announced. "Section 12.4 is highlighted." Sure enough, a new paragraph about pool sharing was there. But the paper was whiter. The font, a near miss. "This page was added," I observed. She claimed the board had voted on it. I asked for the minutes. She said they were being transcribed. I asked for the vote record. She claimed it was unanimous. I asked which board members were present. She suddenly remembered an urgent appointment. Over the next 2 weeks, the harassment escalated. Violation notices appeared on my door daily. Pool water too blue. Pool equipment humming after 8 p.m. Unauthorized swimming detected. One notice claimed my pool's reflection was a nuisance glare for passing cars, despite my yard being completely fenced off from the street. Then came the surveillance. I started noticing Denise on her roof with binoculars every time I had guests. My neighbor, Greg, warned me. "Watch yourself. Last year, she tried to claim the Johnsons' gazebo was on common ground. They hired a surveyor to prove her wrong. And then they moved. Said it wasn't worth the fight. But I wasn't the type to be bullied. I installed security cameras, capturing not just my yard, but also anyone trying to surveil it. The footage was golden. Denise climbing a ladder at 5 a.m. to peer over my fence. Denise trying to measure my water meter. Denise instructing the landscaping crew to trim branches to create a clear line of sight into my backyard. 3 weeks in, I hosted a small barbecue. Denise appeared at my gate within minutes. "This gathering exceeds the approved occupancy," she announced, waving a freshly printed notice. I informed her she was trespassing. She responded by photographing my guests as evidence. One of my colleagues, a paralegal, challenged her legal authority and she retreated, promising it wasn't over. She was right. The next week, I received a certified letter about an emergency safety inspection scheduled for Thursday. I took the day off and waited, cameras recording. Denise arrived with 3 men in work uniforms. "We're here for the mandatory inspection," she declared. I asked for their credentials as pool inspectors. The men, who were just the landscaping crew, looked confused. I refused them entry. Denise smirked and said she'd be back with proper authority. 2 days later, I came home from work to a nightmare. My gate was open and my pool was being actively drained while Denise supervised, a look of pure satisfaction on her face. "Emergency health and safety inspection," she said, holding up another paper. "We found your pool in violation of county codes." I immediately called 911. While waiting, I called the county health department. They had issued no such order and had no record of any complaint. When the police arrived, Denise presented her fraudulent paperwork. The officer examined the pixelated, photocopied county seal and the forged signature. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "forging government documents is a felony." Denise's face went pale. The damage, however, was done. Half my pool water was gone, and the pump had been tampered with. But now I had grounds for both criminal and civil action. My lawyer, Michael Brennan, could barely contain his excitement. Forged signatures, fraudulent government documents, trespassing, destruction of property. This is criminal fraud. We started with a formal complaint to the county prosecutor, who took a special interest in the impersonation of a government agency. The investigation that followed was eye-opening. Subpoenaed financial records revealed Denise had been using HOA funds for personal expenses, new plants for her house, professional lighting for her property, all disguised as community improvements. The real bombshell was her scheme to expand HOA control through forged easements and fabricated liens. My pool was just the tip of the iceberg. She intended to seize my larger-than-average lot and turn it into a community amenity. The state investigator showed me documents Denise had prepared, claiming my property encroached on HOA land. "The survey records clearly show this is false," she said, "but if you hadn't fought back, she might have gotten away with it." Denise was charged with multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and misuse of fiduciary duty. At an emergency HOA meeting, the room was filled with dozens of her other victims. Stories poured out, a family told to tear up their driveway, another fined thousands for grass being a quarter-inch too tall. The board voted unanimously to remove Denise from her position. The criminal trial was swift. The evidence, including my security footage, was overwhelming. The jury found her guilty on all counts. The judge, disgusted by her abuse of power, sentenced Denise to 2 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and ordered her to pay $200,000 in restitution. But that wasn't the end. To pay her legal bills and restitution, Denise was forced to sell her house. I couldn't resist. I attended the auction and purchased her lot for well below market value, with the quiet support of my neighbors. With her property now mine, I successfully petitioned to expand my lot, even acquiring a strip of unused HOA green belt. I now own nearly a full acre in a neighborhood of quarter-acre lots. My pool area has been expanded into a full outdoor entertainment space, its deck extending onto what used to be Denise's prized garden. The irony is not lost on anyone here. As for Denise, after her release, she moved away. Word is she tried to join the HOA board at her new condo complex, but a simple Google search of her name brought up dozens of news articles about the Cedar Hollow scandal. Her application was politely declined. I still swim my laps every morning, now with an even better view. She never imagined her petty power trip would end with me owning her house and her serving 2 years in prison.